Here we have the Oddfellows clock, really, or the Town of Hampton Memorial gift clock that was given by some very rich gentleman in the 1800s. Bought 3 of these clocks. One he put in Hampton Falls, one he put in Salisbury, one he put in the Hampton Steeple, in the Oddfellows Hall in downtown Hampton. Anyway, I helped save this clock and my father, and it was in a fire in the Oddfellows Hall a number of years ago. It was burned up to a char, really. The piece was taken out in a storm, and it was snow. I guess it was raining, and it was firing, and it was a mess. And I found it in a state in the down cellar of the town hall. It was all rusty. The plates it was all disassembled, of course. The pendulum was all destroyed, all burned up. There was just that right down the bottom of the pendulum bob that was rusty, with burnt, charred pendulum rod left in there. And the side plates were leaning against the side of the building. I think they might have been down the Public Works. There was a bell in the Public Works. And all those gears were in boxes and pieces, just in pieces and boxes. And it was dreadful looking. It looked like it was rusty. It was a mess. And one of the gears was cracked. That big heavy gear on the left had a crack in the drum, which I had welded. My wife welded. Some parts too. Parts at the top there were intact, but it was a mess. And there was also a broken part of the top there, we call it the little tower, the lighthouse little part there. The part with that manitou, that was cracked, and I had that welded. Anyway, I had it sandblasted. I sandblasted this right there, the outside plates, and then I had it painted that color, green, and they golded the letters like you see it. That was the easy part. Then I had the welding done on that tower, which had to be very precise because it goes up. I wanted to be precise, I wanted to be straight, but it looks like actually it's not so as precise as I thought. Oh, it had to be precise because when it mounted on the bottom, the gear came up, it had to be just exactly right because it meshed with the other gears, so it's important. It was what the top part wasn't so important, but it had to be priced at the bottom. And I got old bolts that matched from a friend of mine's garage. There were no bolts. I like to use everything originally, so I got the exact matching size bolts for those legs. And the beams that go across, the plates, the, not dial fit, what do you call them? Movement braces, pillars. The pillars, that big giant right there, and there's one on the side here. That mounts, there's one on the top. And those actually attach those plates together. And it was tricky because I had to get them perfectly. I didn't know which one was left or right, so I did it one way. And I just practiced, and I got it so it was perfect because the clock was kind of warped. And I used those to kind of keep together that the plate was shifted up after the fire was warped. So I had to it was under a lot of strain. I used furniture clamps and I put it together with the furniture clamps. And I also used a piece of wood to keep it apart. So I was pulling apart like a push me, pull you situation. Anyway, I cut it all together and I put that top piece across there so it held it in place. And I started assembling it and it was working. I got each of these gears here and I buffed and polished them. I had a friend of mine, John Ducharme, help me do it as well. And we were using buffing wheels and sandpaper to get it off the old brush. And we were buffing them down, made it very shiny. Yeah, it's still shiny too. And I had the big giant cast iron gears painted. So they're painted. Also, what was interesting, let's see. Been a long time. Oh, the pendulum rod. A friend of mine, Rukin, made me a pendulum rod. He got an old piece of, not an oar, but a heavy piece of old wood. I think it was a flagpole he had. He had a mahogany flagpole, and he made that pendulum rod out of the mahogany flagpole. Him and a fellow named Henry Thurlow. They did that. They put the threaded rod on the bottom. Did a beautiful job of that pendulum. It's like a work of art, really. Wonderful job. All we had was the top, that little brass part on the top. And it mounts it on the top and it hangs down. We had the barber here, which we drilled out and then ran it through. It was really cool. That part in the middle, I didn't know it was actually so charred in it. I thought it was steel in the middle. I thought it was like attachable, but it was actually just totally burnt, petrified wood in the middle of it. It's tough to get it out, but when we got it out, we just sent it through again. It's meant to go up and down. You have that little nut in the bottom. You can raise the pendulum to fine-tune adjustment. Beyond that, this gentleman they hired for the town, a friend of, I gave him their name. I forget where he was from though. My friend John Fitzwayne gave me his firm. He does the self-winding mechanisms because it needs to be a very tall building. So the self-winding and the limits, which are there right there, and they're lifted up and down when it needs to wind. That's the strike side with lots of weights, and the hour side here. What a record! It's so done well welded. They did a beautiful job on that. Really nice. When I got this piece, it was a mess. And I had the pictures of before and after. They got lost. I gave them to Bonnie Searle, and I never seen him again. She passed on. We haven't been able to find him, but I had a whole record from start to finish this job. I got to the point where it was painted, set up, and I got it to strike. I got it to tick and run. To the point where I couldn't do it all myself because I just didn't have time to do the fine tuning. Because I had it all. We had to make what was it? Something that was tricky. I don't know what it was. Getting it beat. Yeah, the attaching the verge up there, the balance wheel, to the anchor escapement was very touchy and it was bent, so to get it exactly perfect was difficult. But I got it to go. We worked together, Bud DeRocher and Cliff Pratt. I had it 90% done at that point. I just couldn't deal with my store. I had too many things going. I had no place to get to it, and I had to leave it set up in my garage and break it down. And I built these dollies. I put it on so I can roll it around. And I moved it intact. Normally you move these things, I don't use them intact. That breaks down to just pieces. But anyway, now it's completed. Remember there was bids out, $100,000 here, $60,000 there for repairing it. My dad goes to town meeting and said, you know what? I'll fix it at no cost to the town. Which really, we didn't know it was going to really run or not, because basically with that warping and stuff in the fire, I told him, I said, I could put this together, but it might not be able to go together right. It might not run. There could be warped shafts and stuff. It might not be able to store. But I put it together and it did kick away. I was thinking it was going to end up in the town hall, really as a monument, if anything. Just as a display. But it's actually working, and the town raised money and they built this part here. At one time they were going to use one dial. I said, good grief, use all 3 dials at least, maybe 4, but at least 3. I had the parts for it. So now they have 3 dials. And I had these magnificent dials that were made out of bronze that I bought at a sale to put with it. But turns out, and then I saw what they're going to do. They're going to make some plywood ones with numbers, and I actually didn't like the design of those, but I'm glad they went to the original design. This is the smart way to do it. Very well done. I wish I had the portraits before and after, because it would have been great to see. You'd have seen when it started out, because it was, I hate to say not worth saving, but, not the kind of thing that's been $100,000 to fix. I guess what they did do, I had it running the way it was. I think they actually bought another clock, and they salvaged another clock and used the part to replace one of these side things. I believe that one was warped. It was very hard. Once you took it apart, it was very hard to put together. I'm crafty, had furniture clamps and wood and stuff. A regular clockmaker probably would have said the heck with it, couldn't be done. But I had it ticking and running and striking with all the stuff that came out of that shed in the cellar of the town hall. But here it is. It's a great thing, and I'm glad it's here. It's saved for posterity.